Well, welcome back to Thoughts While Thinking. And these opinions are mine and mine alone. Today we're talking about extra, the news and what they're not telling you. They're leaving out the part that doesn't fit their narrative. And they're working to warp your mind, and that's what the news media is today. They're not honest about what they're telling you and what they're printing. And that's the reason we call them the yellow press, because they got their head up. They got their head to where it don't belong, and that's what they're passing on to you. It's crap in their head that don't belong. And while we're talking about stuff in your head that don't belong, and we're going to talk about the Department of Education, and that Department of Education was established on October the 17th, 1979, under President Carter. And our school system has been taking a nosedive ever since. And that we need to start bringing that federal education back to the local school boards like it belongs. And in 2017, we had spent $12,800 a year on each student. That gave us the second highest spending per student in the world. And then we come up with about 40, I think it was 40 or 45% of the lowest in the world. So we're not getting a bang for our buck. And it's one of the reasons is because the extreme left is feeding the critical race theory to our children, and they have been for a while, and that's the reason they all dance to the same drummer. And the critical race theory is just what they're teaching is just destroying our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our freedom, our a pursuit of happiness. And while those little kids are open to learning and eager to learn, they're just pouring that critical race theory in their head, and they're absorbing it just like a sponge. And the critical race theory, they think if they can erase history and rewrite it, that'll make everybody happy, and because it fits their narrative, and that's the way they want to go. But you know what happened, and that's what history is. That's what it's supposed to be. And if no matter what you take out of the history books, it still happened and it's still history. So think about that. Our schools are teaching our first graders and stuff about that transgender business, and what kind of sex they want to be, and then they're just warping their minds, and it's disturbing. And actually, all they're being taught is how to march in the quick step and to follow orders and obey orders, and not think about them, just jump to and obey them. And in the meantime, they're telling them about the sex, and showing them which organ they ought to think they ought to have. Well, a sixth grader doesn't really care about that, I don't believe. But they're teaching them about the trigenders and how there's not just two sexes, that there's just a whole bunch of them. Well, the last time I looked, every time I look at a cow or a bull, I see the difference in there. And they don't have any trigender animals out there that they're working on, but some way or another they want to make this work. And they're just teaching them how to obey orders and the quick step together. And when they go into that school, they're have bright minds and stuff. When they come out, it's all about equity. They're just all thinking the same. They hadn't been educated. They've been indoctrinated into all thinking about outcome, and all the outcome is all equity. And they sit there and play with their computers and telephones and stuff, and think that they're thinking, and they're just rearranging somebody else's prejudices. And think about that. Think about how they're rearranging somebody else's prejudices that you may disagree with, and they're not thinking. And if they do think a little bit different and they show it in the schools, they're ostracized, they're kicked out, they're humiliated, and they think everything that you say is racist or offensive, and you hurt somebody's feelings. Well, it all started back with they started that woke and putting it in all the corporations and schools and stuff, and all these major corporations are dancing to that drummer. It seems like we're getting close to the cliff. And the critical race theory's primary goal is to destroy America, to destroy capitalism, to destroy individualism. Well, I like being an individual. I'm the best me that there is. And anybody else that tries to be me is going to be second best. And I'm the second best to anybody else I try to be, so I just want to be me. And I want to be an individual, and that's the way it is. But if I think different and I give a different opinion out in public, particularly in the school system, I'm a bad guy. It's a bad idea. They got to get me. They got to tear me down. They got to just humiliate me because I am different. And we've got to where the truth is a new hate speech, and they just hate the truth for some reason. I always thought the truth made you free, but sometimes they just don't want that. And a lot of it started, and most of it started here, and when they started saying that being white was evil. And I'm a white. I'm extreme white. I'm a blonde, platinum blonde white. So that makes me an extra racist, I guess. Well, I don't like being a racist. I don't want to be a racist, and I don't think I'm a racist. But my skin color makes me a racist. Now, some way or another, that doesn't fit in the Constitution or even what Martin Luther King had to say about it. So let's think about that some. And we got to do a little critical thinking to think about that. We got to start thinking about that. But most people don't really want the truth. They just want to be constantly reassured that what they think is the truth is the truth. And sometimes that's not it. You got to remember that. And sometimes I think the world is made up of protons, neutrons, electrons, and morons. Well, I look around and that's what I'm seeing. And that's my opinion. I'm just looking around and seeing what's going on in our school systems and in our government. It just kind of makes my ears wiggle. But, that brings up another reason we got to protect that free speech, because without it, we wouldn't know who the idiots are. And we need to know who they are. And our school system, they've just been going down, and they've been in calculators and putting everybody out the same and teaching them the same and all the same outcome. And, they don't teach them what it needs to have for a successful life. But the teachers, they say that they're working for a better school. They go on strike. They leave the kids out of school 18 months to 2 years and say it's all for the children, a better education system. Well, think about that. Think about why they're on strike. They want more money. They want more control over your kids. They want to be able to teach them all that communism stuff. And they start into that school with all open minds and stuff, and they come out thinking equity. Everybody wins a trophy. Everybody gets an A, and nobody flunks, and nobody fails, and all are winners. Well, in real life, that's not the way it is. Some people work harder than other people. Some people run faster than other people, and the ones that win ought to get the trophy. The others ought to not just work harder and try to get that trophy. That's what it's all about. And our school boards are there learning about, they're taking notice of what's going on from the federal education system. And they're balking and they're calling it order, and they're trying to get it back to the local schools. And that's why we don't have any critical thinking in these local schools, because they don't want us to think critically. They want us to just think like they want us to think. And we got to get back to critical thinking, solving problems, identifying problems. You know, that's something they're not doing now. They're just thinking like everybody else. And we got to do a little reasoning and analyzing. We got to teach them that. And we got to have a problem. We got to have the thinking. We got to have the solution. That's what these kids need to be learning. And it all starts with writing and arithmetic. And because that's where they get all that stuff scrambled in their head figured out, is when they started doing a little critical thinking. And they find a problem, they find a puzzle, they solve it. And we got to have the open classrooms where it's open to students learning, and that's what we got to get to. And they need to learn those ABCs and that mathematics and that arithmetic to solve those problems, then do a little critical thinking. And they got to go for being number one. They want to win. They want to be number one. And they don't want everybody having a trophy. If I win the trophy, don't want everybody else to get one because I won one. And that's what this thinking is all about. They got to get an idea, and they got to think it through. They got to develop it into something. And that's when we send our kids off to college, and then they are there and they are not having their brains washed out and enter out in the universities, and they're not all jumping into the same box step. And we got to do a little muckraking and get all that crap out of Washington and our corruption out of our school system and our government. And it starts with critical thinking. And we got to stop spending that money in Washington. And we just make Congress take that money back and send it back to the local schools like our Constitution wanted. And that's what the states' rights are. And we got to work on that. And one of the reasons we got to do that is because you look at China, they're teaching their third graders calculus. Now think about that. Our third graders are worried about what kind of sex they are, whether they're A, B, C, D, E, or F, or whatever. And, they've already put a little chink in our Constitution, and they're getting ready to throw that stick of dynamite in there and just blow it up to where we don't have any freedoms and liberties left. And we got to learn from yesterday so we can make tomorrow better and today better. And John Wayne said it that way. And we got to get rid of these shackles of government slavery, because we're slaves to the government right now. Just think about that. And the key to freedom is always to be minimum government and stay with the Constitution. And there's no great genius without a little bit of madness, Sika says. Well, I think there's a little bit of madness in every genius. And that's what I said. So I think we all have a little bit of genius and a little bit of madness in us, and we just got to kind of expose that genius part more than we do the madness. And I thank you for watching, and that's I hope you like this video, and I hope you subscribe. And that's my thoughts while thinking. And it's adios amigos, and we'll see you on the flip side, and we'll talk to you later.